Anyway, Jenny O'Connell has written for the Appalachian Mountain Club and is now spending her time working on her memoir called Wild Heart, which will be on the shelves next year. She is a true adventurer, whether sharing her spirit with her aptly titled Joyfire project, or back in 2024 being part of a kayaking expedition from Bethel to Casco Bay to demonstrate how the rivers, forests, and wildlife are all connected to the faucet. Check out that film, Follow the Water, on YouTube. And please welcome my new favorite wild woman, Jenny O'Connell.
Thank you. For the first 10 minutes, my walk across Finland feels like a good idea. I have a new pair of hiking boots. I have a rain jacket. In my backpack is a map. It's more like a road atlas, actually, with a bunch of red highway lines, but I'm sure it'll be enough to find my way north. I've never been good at directions, but I'm choosing not to focus on that now. All I can focus on are the mosquitoes, which in Finland are more like tiny, angry birds, launching an attack on my face. I've made it less than a mile when I realize my backpack is too heavy. I shouldn't have taken those extra sandwiches. I think I might be getting blisters, maybe shin splints too. About 50 yards ahead, the path ends in a highway. Dark clouds are rolling in, and the wind is picking up, and I can tell I'm about to get soaked. I set my backpack down on a wooden bench and take out the map. Why the fuck am I walking across Finland? I say out loud. But of course no one's there, just the mosquitoes. It's such a ridiculous question that I have to laugh. And then, because I don't have to pretend anymore, I bend over and I put one hand on that bench and I weep. In my pocket, there's a black and white photo of a woman named Petronella Vandermoor. I like that photo because it gives me something to point to when people ask why I've quit my perfectly good life to trace a dead woman's footsteps across Finland. Petronella is a legend above the Arctic Circle. She was a Dutch writer who came to Finland after World War II in 1949. She interviewed Helsinki's rich and famous, ran out of money, and then ditched her hotel bills and fled the police north to Lapland. She hiked 116 kilometers into the wilderness and lived with a group of gold prospectors until she was arrested by the secret police, put on trial, and deported, never to be seen in Finland again. Over the next 65 years, she became a legend. There are books written about her, a musical, her name's on a street sign. 2 hills in Lemmenjoki National Park are named after her breasts. Bad gold prospector humor. I met her in 2013 by accident when I brought over a quiche and a bottle of wine for my neighbor who was taking care of her 89-year-old mother. Petronella was dying. She could barely speak. But she looked at me with these fierce blue eyes, and the first thing she said was, "I walked to Lapland." I was a 26-year-old outdoor guide, and I'd just taken my first writing class and fallen head over heels in love with it. I left her house that night with a wild idea. I would walk in Petronella's footsteps over 700 miles from Helsinki all the way across the Arctic Circle, where I'd hike into the Lemmenjoki wilderness and live with the modern-day gold prospectors. I would breathe life back into her story, and I'd write about what happened. When I told my parents this idea over the phone, they answered in the same resigned tone they used when I told them I was going to jump out of a plane. I had never hiked 700 miles. I hadn't even hiked 100, but people went on long walks all the time, and it sounded nice. A way to escape social pressure, to shake up my perspective and get some clarity. I was balancing on this edge between the wilder outdoor life I wanted and the serious and productive person I thought I was supposed to become. And at a time when my future felt out of my control, walking was one choice I could make. So, one minute I was buying a warm sleeping bag and watching too many Banff Mountain Film Festival documentaries about the Arctic, and the next I was quitting my job and boarding the plane. Imagine my surprise then when I'm at the National Archives in Helsinki and a new Finnish friend is translating the police records for me because I want to get this right. And he says this guy's name, and I'm like, who's that? He was the guy she met at the train station, he says. She caught a ride with him north. She caught a ride? This is typical me. Jump before I think, ask forgiveness rather than permission, pretend the rule book doesn't exist, except this time there's an actual book. It's just in Finnish, so everyone's read it but me. I believed walking across Finland was possible because it had been done before. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to do it. Every time I looked at a map of Finland and traced the outline of Lemmenjoki National Park with my finger, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. My heart beat yes, yes, yes. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes. Take a breath. Find a wild place inside you, just one little corner. What is alive in you? There's no map. I can't answer this for you because what brings you alive is probably different than what brings me alive. All I can tell you is how it felt for me. Quiet, certain, right down here in my gut. It was calm, like it had already happened. What I learned on my adventure across Finland is that there's nothing extraordinary about wildness. It's just the act of being awake within my own life. A return to wonder, vulnerability, grief, action. It's the decision to choose what's alive instead of what's easy. When I look back now at that moment on the bench by the river outside of Helsinki, I remember it as beautiful, but it wasn't. It was terrible, actually. I had stepped too far over the edge, and I was in way over my head. But underneath my fear was a map that led to the truest version of myself, and I was going to walk until I found her. Sometimes the moments we are most alive don't feel good, but alive is everything. Alive is the whole damn point. So you want to know what I did? I folded up the map and I tucked it back into my backpack, and then I hauled that thing up onto my shoulders and did the only thing there was to do. I crossed the highway and headed north. Thank you.